Welcome to the Fix Medical Group podcast. My name is Dr. Sam Wagg, and we are helping you live a happier, healthier life one day at a time. Today, I'm joined by my business partner, Dr. Patrick Cucarola, and we're going to be talking about weight loss, body contouring, and ultimately changing what we look like. We're really going to highlight this device that we've added to our office that's called Truesculpt, and Pat's going to really help us understand that. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Thank you for having me again, Sam.
Very welcome. Happy you could be here. So let's jump right into it and get a little bit of information about Truesculpt. What is that, and what our patients need to know about it?
Yeah, it's basically what you said. It's an amazing device that helps with body contouring, basically fat loss, but we can spot areas, like be very specific. So we eat well, we exercise, you're losing fat all over, but with this device, you can be very hyper-specific. I'm like, you know what, I'm having a little trouble in the lower abs. In a quick 15-minute session, you can actually lose fat permanently, and that's the amazing part about it.
That is amazing, because I think a lot of people have probably heard, or you remember growing up when you would work out, you heard exactly the opposite. You cannot spot reduce fat. We have to lose it globally. Well, here we are. Now we have a device where we can actually directly target that area. I want to circle back to the body contouring, but before we talk about how we change our body, let's talk about some of the reasons that lead to weight gain. This has definitely become a big issue in our country. I looked it up the other day. About 40% of the U.S. population is obese. If you compare that to the world, it's only 13%. So our country's not in a great spot. It's not so brag-worthy. Let's help people understand, how do we add on those pounds, and what leads to so many people just continuing to add on year after year?
You bringing it up the USA, we're always saying, yeah, we're number one. That's one of the bad ones that you do not want to be number one in when it comes to weight gain or obesity. But there's plenty of reasons why we are in this problem. One of them being nutrition. We eat poorly. There's too much processed food. You go down to the store and that's all you see, and not your healthy, wholesome food that's going to help you live that fit, healthy life. Yes, we're focusing on weight loss and kind of the more aesthetics and vanity side of things, but when you eat well, you're going to be healthy on the inside, but also look better on the side, on both ends of the spectrum. The other ones, of course, is exercise. We know we need to exercise, push ourselves in the gym, go for a run, do all those things to get the body that we deserve. But many of us out in the world, there's too many fad workouts. People aren't doing the right kind of exercise. And so they're trying, but they might not be getting their goals or hitting those goals. And then another one that people tend to kind of throw off to the side or not think about, because it's not a part of the daily conversation, except for maybe you and I, Sam, but is hormones. Hormones are the chemical messengers inside of our body that control everything: how you sleep, how you think, your depression, your happiness, and also how you lose weight, or I guess sometimes in this world, how easy it is to gain weight, no matter how good your diet is or how hard you're pushing in the gym, but you're still struggling with those areas. Those hormones could be off. And so we like to work on all of those factors through a system. So you're not just picking out one. I'm like, I'm going to try to work out really hard, but nutrition's going to be off, or maybe your hormones are optimized. You're not going to hit your goals when you don't have all of those pieces together.
So to summarize that, it sounds like, one, there's definitely a lot of misinformation out there surrounding some of those subjects. It sounds like it's also imperative to put everything together. And this is something we see with clients all the time. They might be really, really hitting it hard on certain aspects, but they're not tying it all together. And that one little, kind of use the analogy of trying to get to a destination, well, missing one turn is a pretty big deal, right? So that's what we really help patients figure out, where they are going on that path, and then help them course correct in the easiest, best way. I wanted to touch on the first thing you said a little bit on the nutrition. And there's so much sugar, so much processed foods. And really my overall feelings, we live in this instant gratification culture. And we, just like you said with the fitness, we're sold on kind of the sexiness, right? Like, look at your abs, look at this.
Oh, get abs in 2 weeks with this exercise, this one exercise.
Right. And we're not told, hey, this person already looked like this before they got on this piece of equipment. Or you have no idea what they've done before. They could have done steroids. They could have done a lot of things that aren't necessarily a method that you'd want to follow. But I bring that up about the instant gratification because I think with nutrition, we really lose that ability to understand that this actual thing that I'm eating is going to be broken down into a small enough part that this is the material my body's going to use to rebuild me. And if you think about it that way, do you want to be a donut? Or do you want to be that piece of steak when we're trying to rebuild our tissue? So having something that's more similar to our tissue is obviously going to be a much better building block for that area.
100%.
And to kind of tie them all in, whether it's fitness, it's your nutrition, or something else that you're doing from a stress perspective, all of those create inflammation in the body. And if we want to simplify things, inflammation is kind of this root cause for a lot of these degenerative conditions, yes, but also these chronic conditions that we see in our country. Because not only do we lead in obesity, we really lead the way in these chronic conditions and how many people are affected. 60% of our country has a chronic condition.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's arthritis, heart disease, cancer. You can all link them back to inflammation or chronic inflammation. So there's that root cause that you need to get to actually get to your health goals.
So the reason Pat and I are talking about this, we introed you with that sexy device, and we're going to get to that. But we want to help people understand the habits that have got them to a place that now that they're seeking weight loss. Because we can do this awesome treatment in our office, but if we don't educate you on the habits and things that we can avoid to not get back to this place again, we're only helping you temporarily, and we don't want to do that to you. We want to set you up for success. When anybody comes into our office, we want to transition from being basically them reliant on us to educating them to a level where we are now a resource. They know what's going on. They can kind of be that beacon of health in the community to their friends and their family and show them that, hey, I made kind of these habit changes and look where I'm at. So now that we've discussed some of what causes weight gain, let's contrast this with traditionally in weight loss, Pat. What happens? So unhappy with my body, start working out, eating well. What does that process look like and what's happening in the body?
Well, the process, pretty standard. We're just a little past January, so we have all these people that are motivated right now. New year, new me. So yeah, they're going to hopefully put down the drinks, put down the chips, and they're going to start eating what they think is healthier, more salads, more lean meats. And they're just making this quick change because New Year's hit. Now they're also they joined a new gym, and so they're going to try new things. They might be going to some other classes or, finding a YouTube workout, start pushing themselves in different ways. All that is good, but if you don't have that systematic program that's right for you at that time, you're not going to, progress in the way that you want to. You have this big goals in mind. I'm like, I want that 6-pack abs by April because I have this big wedding or something like that. Mm-hmm. But you really need to have all the information, and you need to be eating at this time, what you're putting into your body very specifically, not just having that salad or chicken, really getting it all together to, supply your body with the energy as well as to rebuild it from the exercise that you're putting it through. So you're hitting it from all sides.
Yeah, so having that nutrition, that's not just energy, but it's actually repairing, rebuilding. I should have asked you, what does it look like when we gain weight? So what's happening in the body with our cells? And then let's talk about traditional weight loss, and then what Truesculpt does and why this it is revolutionary.
Yeah. So basically, I wish you guys could see me because I talk with my hands, but we all have these fat cells in our body. So just think of these little circles. Mm-hmm. When we eat poorly, don't exercise, or our hormones are off, they get bigger. So that's getting fatter essentially. And then once they get so big, they start to multiply. So you have more of these fat cells, and so they just grow, and they can grow exponentially at that point. Now we switch it around and you start exercising right, and you're eating a little bit better. All those fat cells just get smaller. They just shrink, but they never go away. So even though they've multiplied, they're still there. They're just a little bit smaller. The amazing thing about Truesculpt, this device, is it actually goes in and kills those fat cells permanently. Then your body removes them over a short bit of time. And so that is where you get that long-lasting effect or that fat loss that we're looking for.
So what Pat's saying is through traditional exercise, diet, all of our normal fat losing methods, you're not losing that cell, but we can shrink it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what can we do different with Truesculpt?
You can kill them permanently, actually, and get rid of them.
So how does Truesculpt do that?
Basically, there's these pads that go on the specific area that you want to lose fat in, and it's this what's called monopolar radio frequency, essentially electricity going into those fat cells that heats them up, and that's going to kill them. So it's a very specific heat level or degrees that science has shown that these actually kills fat cells, and takes about 15 minutes, and those cells die off, and then your body just slowly removes it over the course of the next 8 to 12 weeks.
Okay. And what we'll tell patients in the office is that maybe around 6 to 8 weeks, right, we can start to see some results. 12 weeks is our maximum.
Exactly.
And what the awesome part about this technology, because we will contrast some of the other treatments available as well, but with this technology, number one, it's super comfortable. It's like Pat said, it's a 15-minute treatment, but most of our patients, I would say 90% of people typically are getting the abdomen treated. They're just lying face up. They can have their phone with them. The experience just feels like a warmth on your stomach. You know, that we make the comparison of a hot cup of coffee that's kind of right on the verge of you want to put it down, but it's tolerable. So in that one treatment for 15 minutes, we can eliminate up to 24% of those fat cells. Typically when we treat someone, we want to do about 3 treatments. So we can really get those optimal results, and we can also kind of stack, 24% this time, follow it up with another, And as we're doing that, we're going to be coaching that client on the dietary changes, the exercise changes, and looking at the hormones and making sure that the hormonal signal that's going out in their body is not conserve all the fat that we have, but we're actually turning that over to burn fat.
Yeah, I like to tell patients, you can see results after one time, but once you get that change, you're going to be like, I want more. So you're going to come back the second time and the third time, and that's where you're going to get those optimal results, and you're going to be able to see it in the mirror even more clearly, and all the people around you are going to notice it. You're going to have a little bit more confidence strutting around. But yeah, it's usually about 2 to 3 treatments is what we recommend to get you towards those goals.
Awesome. One thing we've definitely noticed since we do the treatment is a lot of reverse motivation. And as we just said, it's usually about 6 to 8 weeks to see results. 12 is the maximum. But we can't tell you how many times we follow up with a patient the next day and they're like, is it possible to be skinnier? I've heard that a lot. Or from a husband saying the wife is having him look at it from a profile, like, do I look skinnier? And we always reassure him, like, we're happy you're feeling good, but it's gonna take a little bit for this to come through. But what we see with that is people are anticipating and really looking forward to those results. So they tighten up their diet. They start to exercise more. And it's a great way to kind of get people on the right path. Not every single person, Pat and I have kind of learned this as well, but not everyone enjoys working out. Not everyone wants to go to the gym or is motivated to, but everybody knows that's part of weight loss. So once we've done the procedure, it is that good kind of back end motivation. Like, hey, you've put down some money and you've done something that's going to give you this 24% loss. How much more do we want it to be?
I'll be lying if I didn't fall into that. The next day I might have checked myself out in the mirror and maybe done a couple extra crunches because, I did this procedure and I know it's going to work, but I'm going to push it a little bit more because if it's going to work, 100%, 150% is even better. So I'm going to eat better. I'm going to, watch those calories a little bit, make sure I'm putting in more of the leafy greens and all that because I want the best results.
Yeah, definitely decreasing the inflammation, doing all the things that we would have our clients do to help mitigate that stress and inflammation from any of the known sources. Let's talk about who's a candidate for this. So who can use Truesculpt?
It's a really, really difficult question. Everyone's a candidate.
Oh, damn. Really, it doesn't matter where we're at weight-wise or goal-wise, right?
Exactly. Pretty much, if you have around 20 to 30 pounds to lose, you're going to see a little bit more, I want to say, defined body. But even if you are that 100 pounds, you're going to see the waist trim down a little bit. And especially have to do it a couple more times, the skin's going to tighten. And then hopefully you are motivated, like just what we're saying. And so now all that nutrition that you're putting in your body and you're exercising a little bit more, everything just gets expedited a little bit faster. And so you're happy about it. And you might, I might want to do another treatment, except in a different area. We did our abs earlier. Now I want to do my flanks. And so you kind of just build from there. And that's how it works for everyone. It doesn't matter what end of the spectrum you're on. You can still see results. Clothes are going to fit differently. But when you are around those 20 to 30 pounds to lose, you're going to have a little bit more definition easier because there's less, less of the fat to actually start to burn off.
Yeah, we're a little bit closer to where we're headed. But regardless if the goal is to lose 30 pounds or it's to lose 50, everyone's still a candidate. It's just that we're going to feel we're going to feel those results a little bit different. So it might not be as visual to everyone around you if you're a little bit lower on the weight side and you're going from kind of a shadowy, fluffy belly to a six-pack. That's definitely a bigger contrast, but it doesn't mean that person that needs to lose 60 plus pounds isn't losing 24% of that fat during the treatment. It's just that it's probably going to be more of a change that they notice, where clothes fitting better, having more energy because you're carrying around 24% less fat, and feeling better about yourself. You're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, it goes down to the numbers. Like if we look at like bodybuilders, when they drop from 10 to 8% body fat, they have a lot more definition. Now, if you drop from 35% body fat to 33, yeah, you're slimmer, less fat, of course, but you're not going to have that definition, that visible six-pack abs quite yet, but you're working your way towards that step by step, getting towards that goal.
And I like what Pat said about the lower percent. You know, we've actually had clients that have been pretty low body fat percentage, but patients who have made some big body composition changes over time. And maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit. The patient, we did have someone do a physique competition. So
yeah, he just turned 40 and he wanted to do this fitness physique show. So he worked his butt off, essentially, dieted really hard, worked out like 2 times a day, and he got down to about 6% body fat. So he had those lean abs that we all kind of want. But when you really looked at the pictures, he still had some fluff around the flanks and his back, because he used to be 280 pounds. And then he dropped down to, he's around 165 right now. So great work on him, but he still had all that body fat that we talked about earlier that multiplied. And even though he was shrunk all that fat, there was still that area there. And so he wanted to push it a little bit more. And that's where Truesculpt, we can be very specific with him on here's are the areas that he wants to focus on to get that body that he deserves. You know, he's been working his tail off, but he still had that little fluff, and he was a little self-conscious about it when he was up on stage, and we were able to help him with that.
Yeah, so even somebody who, as Pat said, 6% body fat, that's really incredible. You're not maintaining that for a really long time. So that is awesome, but even that person is a candidate, because we can go through, we can contour, and as Pat said, he lost an incredible amount of weight, but all you can do is shrink those cells. So when we utilize this, we can permanently destroy them, and we can help get back some of that laxity, because at one point that skin was stretched out considerably more.
Yeah, and then on the other end of the spectrum, just yesterday I had a patient saying, he's like, my clothes are fitting better. He did Truesculpt about 10 weeks ago, and he's a bigger guy. I think he's probably if we wanted to just be straightforward, he probably needs to lose about 60 pounds to be in a healthy area. He still went with Truesculpt, and he's not going to have that six-pack abs. He's well aware of that, but his clothes are already fitting in the areas that we kind of hit. They're not snug on his belly. They're hanging a little bit looser, which is a good thing for him.
Yeah, and it's we're all starting our journey from a different place. So we just do want to highlight, this is for everybody. It just depends on the goals, but there's a way for us to do it. So go ahead.
I want to touch one other. We talked about a physique show guy. We also talked about a bigger guy. Mm-hmm. The other ones that truly see amazing results are the mothers. Mm-hmm. They just went through this trauma of birth, and their bellies got a little bit bigger. And hey, they did lose a lot of that weight, that baby fat, if you want to say, but they did get stretched out. And so they might be a little bit more self-conscious around the midsection, maybe a little bit more saggy skin, still the remnants of that fat. And we can go in there, and this device actually does tighten up the skin as well as burn the fat away permanently. And so mothers really see a great result, because I hope women continue to have babies. We need more, but they shouldn't be ashamed of their post-baby body afterwards. And that there's millions of people, women, suffering with that. I know.
Yeah, 100%. And depending on whether it's natural birth or C-section, it can really change how the body looks. So we can help those people out, help them feel really confident in their skin and in their body again. How often or how many times would you say we typically recommend doing the procedure for somebody?
Everyone's a little bit different, but for most people, we're going to recommend about 2 to 3 treatments. Like we said earlier in the show, that's where we're going to see the most benefit, or you're going to see the most results. Some people, if they, that man that was down at 6%, he might only do 1 to 2. But most people, like myself, you included, are going to be doing 2 to 3.
Yeah. So really depends on the person, depends on the area. Some of the common areas that we treat, we can, like I said, about 90%, 95 maybe, are doing the abdomen. Upper and lower through the abdomen, the flank, so working around the lower back. And then we'll also do inner thighs. We will do underneath the jaw, the back of the tricep, or around that bra line area. So really those common trouble areas that a lot of people think about, or when someone says, I can't lose these stubborn last 5 pounds, 10 pounds, put in the number, a lot of times that is lower abdomen, but those other areas as well.
The people that always go like, yeah, eat one donut, it goes straight to the hips. Doesn't go anywhere else. I'm like, we can help with that area. I'd still recommend don't eat that donut,
Right.
but that's where their body holds it. And that's just them possibly naturally or possibly hormone related.
Mm-hmm.
We can still very specifically target that area where they're, I guess, that stubborn fat loss area.
Yeah. So when we have someone come in for the consult, I love that you just said hormones, because this is what was on my mind as well. Is with certain hormone imbalances, we'll see people have different body types because that imbalance will cause them to hold fat in different places. Mm-hmm. So for instance, like a thyroid imbalance is going to kind of be evenly distributed throughout the body, whereas other ones are going to give you more of that beer gut type of appearance where it looks like the rest of you is really skinny, but we're just really pushing out through the abdomen. So
the other big one is estrogen, which a lot of females struggle with, especially around the menopause age. But it's actually happened earlier and earlier, but they're putting it around their hips. Exactly. Like I keep on adding weight, just goes straight to my hips. I'm like, that's most likely an estrogen problem if that's where your fat's always going.
Right. So when that person comes in for the consultation, number one, we're beginning to know what their goals are, what they've already done. We want to check in and see what the diet's like. Do you exercise? And start to coach them on those other habits. A lot of people will utilize our Restart program, and that's where we put in kind of those 4 or 5 major pillars that we talked about, being hormones, your nutrition, your fitness, and then we didn't really touch on, but detoxing our body. And then we combine that with mentoring because we're guiding people through those steps and how we integrate them into our lives. When we talked about the beginning part, adding weight, detox is a huge thing as well, because if we've never detoxed our organs, they don't work the way that they did originally. And that's a big reason why people are like, man, my diet's pretty much the same, but I seem like I keep adding weight year after year. Well, every single day that we're alive, our hormones are dropping a little bit. And if we've never detoxed, then your actual machinery inside your body, just like in your vehicle, it's aging. It's not functioning quite the same. So we're not getting that resilience and that support from the hormones that we had maybe when we were a little kid. And we use the example of like a teenager all the time, especially a teenage boy. I think if you're active, playing sports, I know myself growing up, there was a lot of fast food because that's where they always brought us on the bus after any sporting event.
That was reward back then.
Yeah, it didn't really make sense, but none of, a small percent that didn't really show up on our body because we were working out so much, doing all these things, but that does show up in injuries because that is the food quality. That's the building blocks that you're giving yourselves. But anyways, I just want to touch on that a little bit.
Oh, it works. I mean, it comes down to it's that full system. If you do Truesculpt, I'm just throwing random numbers out. Yeah. That helps you 20%. Then you add in the nutrition, that's another 20. Then the fitness, the detox, making sure the hormone, you're looking at, that's 100%. I did math right, actually, randomly. But yeah, if you just do one of those, yes, you're gonna hopefully feel better. You're gonna see a little bit of change, but wouldn't you want to put it all together? And that's where you're going to get those best results, those optimal life that you deserve.
Yeah, and that's why when patients come in, rather than them just saying, I want to lose weight, okay, where? It's more of, what are the big goals? Mm-hmm. It's not just how I appear in the mirror, but if I got this weight off, I know I'm going to have more energy. I'm going to feel good about myself when I go out to meet with friends, or I have this big wedding coming up and people haven't seen me in a long time and I want to blow my friends away. So let's really figure out that goal, but not just something so short term like that. But then we dive into those people's lives to figure out, hey, what are the other things that we need to adjust? Yeah. And we meet them where they are and make that right plan.
One of my favorite things for what we do and when it comes to weight loss, I'm like, yeah, there's a vanity side to it, but you're also getting the overall health aspect when it's a long-term goal or you're actually hitting that. But vanity isn't that bad of a thing if you don't allow it to go to your head. It gives you more confidence. You're walking around. People notice that you have a little bit more control in your life. You're feeling just overall more confident. So I love seeing that with our patients when they do these types of things, including Truesculpt. They come in and they have a little bit extra pep in their step. And selfishly, I love it.
Yeah. We do love all the services that we add. And in my opinion, nothing is really aesthetic, because if it's affecting your confidence and how you feel, that should go for it. Right. I always say, if I was losing my hair, I would not feel that good. I would definitely choose times I could wear a hat. So I would not view that as an aesthetic. That would be a very important thing for me to feel good and confident in my body. Just like if I all of a sudden lost a ton of weight and I was super skinny, I don't feel so confident about myself then either. I like to have some strength. I like to feel good about what I can do with my body. So don't let this, if that hits home for anyone of, ooh, I like the idea of that procedure, but I'm not that kind of person. That's vanity, or that's not me. Being happy in your body is you. So reach out to us. But let's kind of recap here on Truesculpt. We went down a little sidebar there at the end. So Truesculpt, how long does it take? Who can use it? And how do people get in touch with us and get it done?
It's a 15-minute treatment. Takes about 8 to 12 weeks to see the full result. Usually we're doing about 2 to 3 treatments. So you're looking at around, 6 months, 8 months around there for that full process. And basically you live happy. What we just said, you're confident in that body. You're very proud of it. And hopefully you're pushing yourselves in those other realms that we talked about.
And it's easy. Like Pat said, it's 15 minutes. The procedure is very comfortable and it feels good. We didn't dive into doing a bunch of contrasting, and we're not here to bash anything that's out there to help people be better. But there is other technology that uses cold to do this, because cold and heat can both kill fat cells. We chose to use this product and use Truesculpt and utilize the heat because it's comfortable for patients. It's less variable as far as results. They are not as provider skill oriented as some of the other devices. So that's something that makes us feel a lot more confident that patients are going to get great results, and it's going to be consistent, and it's not going to be uncomfortable, and they're going to look forward to coming into their appointments at our office.
And the other big one is there's no side effects. Some people feel a little tingling or heat with Truesculpt. The other technology out there, yes, it does work. Like you said, it's a little bit more variable on the results, but there are some side effects, like you're not allowed to work out for a while because your body's healing, because it just basically went through a freezing process. And a lot of people report soreness like up to 6 months in that area from it. And with Truesculpt, you literally come in, you feel that soothing warm heat. I liked it, actually. It felt I could have taken a nap. I had to go back to work though, but like I just said, I just went right back to work, and then I went to the gym that night, felt perfectly fine the next day. There was no side effects for me, and we have yet to have any patients that have any side effects. Yeah,
no downtime. That's huge. And we're big on that. Because you can walk in, walk out, carry on with their day. You don't have to make any other changes. And it's really important. We don't want to, we really value everybody's time. So that's how it comes down to choosing things sometimes, is making sure our patients aren't having to spend a lot of extra time or miss out on things that they love to do. So thank you, Pat, for sharing all this information about Truesculpt. We hope that this really helps people understand how we utilize, number one, this device, how this fits into the bigger plan, and hopefully we've helped people understand a couple of the different things that have led to that weight gain. So if one of those hit home for you, you're like, hey, maybe those hormones are what's been messing with me this whole time, because we hate to see people be frustrated. And whether you could have the greatest nutrition, the greatest fitness, but if those hormones are off, we're not going to make a change. If we have everything going for us, but maybe we've never detoxed, and it's just the simple fact that our organs aren't working the way that they used to, we got to make that change. So please reach out to us. It's free to talk to us. Education with no obligation, so we can figure out what's the best thing to get you to where you want to be. And again, thank you, Pat. We look forward to having you on another episode. And to all the listeners, we look forward to having you listen to the next episode.
Thanks again, Sam.